Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel Starshine Oracle. My name is Sam, and today I would like to discuss emotional vulnerability because that is the focus of this channel, and how that ties in with my spirituality and the path that I've been on in this life. So, emotional vulnerability, what is that? Well, for me, that means me being able to maturely and appropriately discuss how I feel without sacrificing anything about myself. For example, it's like I get into a debate with someone about my spirituality, and it's more about me saying, hey, this is who I am, and that's okay with me being who I am, and not being afraid to speak my piece. So, today I'm going to be talking about how I came to my current, level of spirituality, and how each different belief system has made a huge impact in my life. The purpose of this is to try to portray how the division between belief systems is really just not necessary in this world, at least from my perspective. So, to begin, I grew up with a pretty troubled childhood. I was in and out of foster care up until I aged out of the system at 18. The formative years of my life, there really wasn't any kind of belief system. It was more just like, just non-existent. There wasn't any talk of God or anything like that. So when I was, I say 9, I think 8 or 9, I went into a foster home. And my foster parents were very involved in their church. And that was my introduction to God. Now, up until this point in my life, I had gone through some pretty terrible things. Again, in and out of foster care, abusive parents, parents who were drug addicts, right? Very broken people who just did not know how to manage emotional vulnerability in their lives. And the unfortunate side effect of that was pain and suffering and traumas received on my end and my sister's, both of my sister's end. So, I go into this foster home, and I am just completely overridden with all these just beautiful romanticized ideas of a higher power that just cares and loves for me so much. And it's like at that point in my life, I had been through so many terrible things that it was just not, it just didn't make sense to me. Additionally, the idea of evolution was introduced to me in that same year. So not only did I come into not having any kind of belief system the first, 8 or 9 years of my life, but then being told that this one way was the right way and anything outside of that was wrong. I was a bad person, or at least that's how I internalized it. I can't necessarily say that's how it was taught because, again, with the traumas throughout my childhood, PTSD symptoms, my memories, they're fuzzy from my childhood. So those smaller details, they really don't apply. Moving forward, back with my parents, back into foster care, faith and religion, belief systems, they just weren't really a part of those environments that I was shuffled around in. When I hit high school in the last foster home that I lived in, I was introduced to Western astrology. And whoa, all of a sudden things kind of made sense. But how can all this stuff in astrology make sense in comparison to the religious beliefs that I was taught in my younger years? Didn't make sense. Again, in high school, evolution was brought up, Darwinism, all that stuff, and it was just like, the dinosaurs. It was just like, how is it that all of this stuff is right, but it's all wrong? And you know what I mean? Science doesn't agree with religion. I mean, there are corollaries, and we'll get to that, but at that point in my life, it was like all of these systems of understanding, reasoning, beliefs, love, all of these things, none of them flowed together. And I remember my freshman year in high school, I was in biology class learning about the evolutionary process, and it just hit me one day. It's just like, why can't all of it make sense at the same time? Why is it that this one is okay over here and this one is okay over here, but these two, entities are fighting each other, saying I'm right, I'm right. And, I still see that division even more so in our society today. You just go look at social media. I follow another YouTuber on YouTube, and his name is Chris Reck, and he just totally outlined it the other day. It's not about being right and or the other one being wrong. It's just about it being. It's just more about being yourself. So moving forward from that, going into adulthood, I aged out of foster care. It was a really ugly, good 5 years before I kind of settled into real adulthood. I think everybody goes through that. And in that process, I stumbled across all kinds of information. I moved to Connecticut when I was 18, and I was introduced to paganism and Wiccan and all of these different belief systems, you know what I mean? And it just didn't make sense why everyone wanted to be at each other's throats. This paradigm just continued into my adult life. So let's fast forward, a good, 15, 20 years in between, adolescence and, my current state of life now. I went through a lot of adult traumas as well. It really kind of just opened me up to different ways of seeing things. I had a nervous breakdown in 2017. After being sexually assaulted by a neighbor, and just my whole world turned upside down. I was already in a state of depression, and I just got this crazy idea. My ex's first girlfriend, after we separated, she and I became friends after, they had their thing or whatever, but it was like that random connection, you know what I mean? I hadn't talked to this lady in years, and I just got this idea one day when I was really anxious and just kind of sitting at home with my kids, being a stay-at-home mom. I was just like, I need to go to church. I'd already been baptized by this point. I had accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, but it was just like, I just need to go to church, I didn't really like going to church because of my experiences when I was a younger kid. It just kind of felt like their beliefs were forced on me. So I don't know. I really just didn't like the idea of church at all in my most of my adult life. So I didn't even call her up. I just knew that she went to a specific church in my community. And so I go to this church, right? And while they were like doing announcements before worship or whatever, Christian church, while they were doing announcements, this woman comes out on stage and she talks about a program called Celebrate Recovery. And basically, it's kind of like, your 12-step program for people who are addicted to alcohol or drugs, you know what I mean, AA and NA. Same kind of 12-step program, but more centered around the teachings of Jesus and the Christian Bible and all these things, right? So I started going to this recovery program for my emotional issues, the trauma. The recent trauma had triggered up a whole bunch of these other traumas from my childhood, and I just couldn't function. I couldn't breathe. I could barely get out of bed. At that time, I was a stay-at-home mom for 2 children who were very close in age, and I was pregnant. I believe I was pregnant with my youngest at that time. So there was a lot going on in life, and I just needed something, and I don't know what it was about that place, but I just felt safe. I felt safe to talk about the terrible things that happened to me, and with other women, in a small group of women, which was just a brand new concept to me, going through all the traumas and stuff as a kid. I had therapy, but talking to one person one-on-one, like I said in my intro video, it's completely different to do it with a group of people who you don't even know, much less sitting here on YouTube just talking your heart out, to anyone who could possibly see it. So, so Celebrate Recovery. It was a really good start in the right direction for me. I fully was able to embrace a belief system through this recovery program. Now, they offered this thing called a step study, which is basically working the 12 steps through the lens of Christ, right, in the Christian way. And it changed my life. It seriously changed my life. I had never had a mom, growing up in life, just being moved around everywhere, back and forth between family and foster homes, and just, never having a stable, nurturing presence in my life until it was too late. I kind of just blocked off that kind of nurturing love from, I'd say, probably age 15 up until age 33 when I started going to Celebrate Recovery. And so doing this step study with this group of women, it taught me the importance of being emotionally vulnerable. I felt throughout the step study, it was launched in January 2019, and we completed it at the beginning of September 2019. So we worked through these workbooks for 8.5, 9 months together. And the whole time, I was excited when I heard about this step study. I was like, this is it. This is how I'm going to get, this is how I'm going to heal. I'm going to get rid of all this garbage from the past. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to be a whole person, right? Well, it's not that easy. The day I opened that first book, I read the first question, and I got, so mad. I don't want to answer that. What's question number 2? I read question number 2, and that book flew across the room before I could even finish it. I said, nope, I don't want to do this. I changed my mind, God. No, thank you. And so it was really difficult. I stuck it out till the end with my sisters. But like I said, that's how I learned why it's important to be emotionally vulnerable. The whole time that I went through this step study with these ladies, I felt like I was screwing up everything in my life, and that I wasn't answering the questions correctly. You know what I mean? Like, it all came out, even though I wrote down my answers and I would read them out loud to my counterparts. It was still so hard to just say what I felt in regards to a very direct question about my emotions and my past experiences. And so even though I felt really uncomfortable, really, really uncomfortable, especially with women I'd never met before in a belief system that is, no offense to my Christian friends out there, but it is a very rigid structure. There isn't a lot of room to allow other people of other belief systems in. There is some flexibility. I'm really not going to debate about that, but it is an unfortunate thing that needing a rigid structure like that can also block us from other people. That's more or less the point that I was trying to get to with their tangents. So anyway, as I became more and more open, even though it was more and more terrifying every single time, and I'm sure those ladies will attest to just how nervous I was to share these really kind of creepy, terrible thoughts and, feelings and experiences, and how I treated myself and how I wasn't able to forgive myself, But at the end of it, it was so beautiful. At the end of our step study, we had a chance to kind of just discuss, our experiences together. And the most rewarding part about all of it was the constant, I don't want to say it was constant, but, just the recognition that I was just bearing my whole entire heart to people I didn't know, because I just wanted to get better, and it encouraged them to do the same. I watched them grow in that respect, in that emotional vulnerability throughout step study. But I didn't really attest their growth to my growth, you know what I mean? So it's like, the more emotionally vulnerable I was with myself in this book of this spiral-bound notebook of crazy memories and pain and suffering, the more that it encouraged the other women to do so. They realized that my flaws were applicable in their lives, and thus, here I am. Here I am in 2020, September 2020, a year later, talking about emotional vulnerability. So I've had all these different spiritual just experiences in my life. I've touched on some of them, but I trained at a martial arts temple for 7 years, and I studied Buddhism and energy work there. I've been practicing rock magic since I was 16. I learned how to read runes when I was 18, 19. And then this year I picked up tarot decks. And what a blessing that was. You know what I mean? So, to kind of come to the culmination point for this video is I don't believe in any one thing because it's just not for me. Rigid structures they prevent me, from being able to feel other people. I'm an empath as well. I can feel other people's emotions. I talk to cats. I met this guy 2 months ago, and he's just, look, he's all up on my couch. You know what I mean? He's not even my cat, and he owns this couch, But, I have conversations with my cat. Call me crazy. I'm okay with that. I am okay with being called a crackpot or whatever, because your perspective, that's where you are at in life, and I'm okay with that. You can be where you're at in your life. But that where you're at doesn't necessarily mean where I need to be. And I really, really just want the world to understand that and, have acceptance of other people. I'm a Christian. I'm a tarot reader. I play with rocks. My cats are my friends. I mean, that's not my cat. My cat's over there. But, I do, I interpret astrology charts, and it's crazy. I have a level 2 attunement to Reiki. None of these things in general, according to the world standards, are supposed to mesh. Yet here I am, a physical embodiment of all of these things, and I exist in peace, and I exist well in these, different belief systems. So, moral of the story, message of the day, I don't know what you want to call it, but is, find it in your heart space to just accept someone. It could be anyone. It could be your pet. It could be your child or a friend or your significant other or that lazy coworker, you know what I mean? Just accept people where they are in their life and understand that their path is their path. It's okay for them to be on their path. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in a few days to kick off my first series on domestic violence for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I'm really excited about that. There's a lot of information out there that I think a lot of people could really use at this time in this crazy world that we're living in. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Bye.